Hello, welcome to my video. AskReddit. What do you remember hating the most being a child? When you went to a family friend's house and you were playing with their children and then your parents said it's time to go, so you'd go and stand by them, but then the adults would remain talking for another half an hour, but you couldn't go play with the kids because you were about to go, so you had to listen to adult talk whilst staring at the coffee table. Edit. Wow, thanks for the replies. It's good/sad to see I wasn't the only one who had to endure this violation of human rights as a child. A lot of people have asked if I'm from the Midwest or Latino, and the answer's no, I'm Australian, but it's very common here. I remember the absolute worst one was when I stayed overnight at my friend's house for his birthday and we were watching this new Pokemon series he had gotten for his birthday. Then my mum came and picked me up half an hour early, and I had to sit in my friend's sister's room listening to mine and his mum talk about their childhood and ghost stories for an hour while my friend watched Pokemon in the living room. Being talked down to, or people laughing at me when I was telling them something serious. I broke my arm in the first grade playing tag. I slipped and fell into a banister, went to push myself back up, and couldn't put pressure on my arm. I remember it clear as day. The teacher on duty wouldn't have it and claimed I got ran over on a tricycle. Even despite the other kids I was playing with tell her the same thing I did. To this day, more than 20 years later, I still get talked down to about it. Edit. I had several issues with this teacher before this event. For further stories of how crappy she was, here's another story I shared a couple of months ago on another thread for the handful of people who would be interested. In the first grade, I had a problem with a certain kid and his friends constantly trying to bully me. One day he, Kyle, and his two best friends surrounded me, pinned me by the arms, and drew their fists back to punch me when suddenly the teacher on duty blew her whistle. She then proceeded to scold 3 boys for causing a scene with their violent behavior. And by 3 boys, she meant the 2 friends of the boy and me, who was on the ground by the other 2. She sent us to the office. We all 3 were forced to sit every break without being able to play for 3 weeks. Even in the office, the other 2 boys were saying I was innocent and that Kyle was guilty, that they all 3 were attacking me. The boys even told the teacher that it was the 3 of them that were about to attack me. Her response was no, he was the only one not doing anything. I heard you/my jello jiggles yelling, egging your lawn. Even the boys admitted the only thing I was yelling was please, no. I was totally innocent. Even the principal wasn't hearing it. She actually made me feel worse about it because in her words, you are the first problem students this school has had since we started that Student of the Month program. First day sitting out from recess, I stared at the ground on the verge of tears, and the teacher forced me to watch the other kids play as a punishment. I deserved to watch other kids have fun. Every day Kyle would run by and throw sand in my face with a teacher less than 5 feet from me who literally turned her face away as she smirked. Kyle, the boy who never got in trouble, was the son of that teacher's best friend who, by the way, was the local school bus driver who backed into our horse trailer earlier that year and tore it all to hell and tried to take no responsibility for it. She blamed us for her hitting the horse trailer because we put it in her way. Truth of the matter was that she was being lazy. The bus driver before her just went up the road, maybe 400 feet ahead, and circled back around. She would pick me and my sister up and then put the bus in reverse, backing into a small ditch into our front yard where we parked all the cars and trailer. To make things worse, she never actually looked all that much when she was backing up. She designated a couple kids to be her watcher. I guess they thought it would be funny and not let her know she was about to majorly F up. Edit. The kid has issues. I remember hearing about a time he tried to literally kill his older brother. The family kept a boombox in their bathroom that plugged into and played music while they were in the shower/bath. One day his older brother was taking a bath when Kyle came running in and threw the boombox into the bath. Thankfully it ripped the cord from the back end, so nothing ever came of it. Other incidents besides this happened, but I can't recall the details of what all they were. That's bizarre. Even if the teacher didn't believe you for some reason, why suggest a different scenario? When I was in 6th grade, someone who was not our teacher came into the room to administer a standardized test and watched as we filled them out. My first name can be a nickname for a longer name, such as Bobby instead of Robert, although I'm female, but my name is not at all unusual. The teacher told me I had to use my full name. I told her that was my full name, but she argued and said it was a nickname. Lady, I'm in 6th grade. Do you think I don't know my full name? She had to get my regular teacher to confirm. False accusations, but when you try to defend yourself you get told to shut up, or even worse, you get punished further. I'm an adult and you are a child. How could I be wrong at all? I remember this so much, so frustrating. Living in a house with just one bathroom and so many people, seemed like someone was always using the toilet or the shower when others needed use of the room. That's why you just go use whatever is available at the same time. I did this. I was the only girl in my siblings. We seemed to have a trust in each other not to peek when one of us was showering. To this day, all but my dad still leaves the door unlocked when we shower, just so anyone who needs to wash their hands or use a mirror can. For me, always just made sure my eyes was open and ready to spray anyone who decided to open the curtains of the bathtub or glass door to the shower box. I think all the kids did this. I remember when my brothers as a kid, when my mom woke us all up to go pee in the middle of the night. 2 of my brothers just peed at the same time in the toilet. Saves a flush anyways, and they were both boys. Not getting explanations for things I asked about. My parents and extended family were good-hearted people, but none of them were very intellectually minded, so when I had questions about how things in the world were supposed to work or operate, the answers were frequently unsatisfying, ranging somewhere between "because it just does" slashes to "I don't know," and "I don't know" was sadly never followed up with, but let's find out. I have of course overcompensated with my own children on this to a fault. As my eldest son said, "I'm afraid to ask you what time it is, because then you'll want to teach me how to build a clock." This right here. I was so inquisitive, and having no access to answers infuriated me. I remember getting really pissed at my mom once. After asking a series of questions and getting only "I don't know" in response, I finally sighed and said, "Wow, you don't know anything." Needless to say, that was an ass whooping I did not soon forget, and it taught me to stop asking questions. Then a few years later we got Google. That my feelings didn't matter. If I was feeling anything other than happy, I had to get over it. If I was crying, I was ordered to stop or get something worth crying over. I hate as an adult now, seeing other adults ask a kid what is wrong. Kid opens up, and then the kid gets made fun of for it being a stupid reason. Then poor kid gets drilled about how they don't know what a hard life is, they're dramatic, etc. I hate that shit. Oh, you have an important test? Just wait until you're an adult and you're faced with real problems. Not doing well on a test can lead to real consequences, being held back, being punished at home. The cruelty of other kids. +1 for that, mate. Sorry you experienced it as well. It got better for me. Hopefully for you too. One of the craziest realizations I had was when I talked to my friend's mom about the bullying I was going through. She told me that she grew up with the parents of every single child who was saying and doing mean things to me. She said that their parents were never bright in school, they were lazy, and just not good people in general. She said it wasn't surprising to her that their kids grew up to be little versions of their parents. She said they were just a product of their environment. Ever since she told me that, I felt sad for them every time they bullied me. Sad that their parents never provided them with the opportunity to be better. Edit. I asked his mom what happened to the nice people from her class, and she just said they went to college, got really good jobs, and moved far away from our shitty little town. Family gatherings. Had a large extended family as an Indian, and there were gatherings and functions almost every week. Coming of age, housewarming, marriage, first birthdays called for gatherings between 100 to 2,000 people. You had to dress up and meet people that apparently cleaned your snot as a baby, expecting you to remember that they did so. It was horrid. Kinda miss it now though. Yeah, I miss gatherings too, and it's sad to me to realize that's a time I can never return to. There was something about seeing our house bustling with older people you don't know, all chatting, eating, and laughing in small groups throughout. You might not know them, and are nervous when they first arrive, but they are family friends, so you eventually trust them. Their young kids would be playing with toys and spinning each other with an office chair. Then the older kids would be playing upstairs on the TV because one of them brought a PS1. I never knew it as a kid, but I enjoyed the company of strangers to me. Worst part of it was they started to filter out. The house slowly becomes more quiet and you try looking for a stranger or older kid that was kind to you, but they have already left. My dad stopped doing those gatherings when I was around 12 and I always asked my mom why, but she never gave me a full answer, though I suspect why as an adult now. I still have those vivid memories when I was a kid. People making fun of me, grown up included. This is a big one for me too. It seems like the previous generation of adults loved to tease and make fun of us. I think maybe they thought we would grow up with thick skin. It doesn't work. Along that same vein, when adults would tickle and wrestle with me until I felt scared and overwhelmed was probably my most hated thing about being a kid. I had an uncle that would pinch my nose so hard it would make my eyes water. I hated it so much. Some adults are so immature. Edit. I'm glad we could talk about this issue. I had no idea so many people shared my anxiety about being pinched and tickled. Let's do better for our kids. I'll learn to break the tickling by threatening to pee on them. Most folks don't want to be peed on. What I remember most was some adults not treating me like a human being just because I was a child. I try so hard with my own kids to step back and treat them as fellow humans and not just children. A 4-year-old needs their own space and gets frustrated and gets angry in exactly the same way I do. They just don't have the vocabulary and awareness to express it. My job is to help them express it, validate it and teach them how to deal with it, not just to tell them to stop whining. I was on my pediatrics rotation in medical school and saw a little kiddo having a meltdown in the waiting room. The mom was getting flustered and frustrated. Then one of the peds residents was walking through the waiting room. He got down on one knee and instead of scolding the child like the mother was, he asked the little kiddo what was wrong. The child said he forgot his favorite toy at home and was afraid something would happen to it. Instead of telling the kid that his toy was safe and that he needs to stop crying, the resident asked his mom if anyone was home. The dad was. The resident asked the mom if she could text the dad and ask if the toy was safe. Less than 5 minutes went by when the dad sent a picture with the toy and all was well. The little boy was all sunshine and rainbows after that. All it took was just empathizing with a child and putting yourself in the mindset of a 4-year-old. To us it seems so trivial that he left his toy at home, but to him, that toy is his whole world. He has spent thousands of hours with it and probably has a special bond. I can't imagine how it would feel to just have that dismissed by the parent when they tell you to just calm down and be quiet. Being made to eat foods that I couldn't stomach or which were in amounts that were too much for me to handle. You can't leave the table until you finish everything on your plate. I hated wasting food, but I developed clever ways of sneaking unwanted food away and disposing of it without a trace. Thankfully my parents didn't pull the "there are starving people in Africa" routine, because my answer would have been "so give it to them." I second this. I remember vomiting after being made to eat coleslaw by my father, and I still can't stomach it. Also, whenever I would visit my grandmother she insisted I drink a glass of milk with every meal, and she made me sit at the table until I drank it all. I couldn't stand it, and to this day I hate milk, although some milk products are okay. That kind of thing seems to sadly be quite common. I know multiple people for whom entire kinds of food were permanently spoiled just because they had to eat them once against their will as kids. As someone who considers exploring all kinds of cooking one of the most fun things in life, it really makes me angry. My dad was a drunk with opinions. He would keep me and my brother up till late and scream lectures at us about history or ethics or how much he hated our mom. He would wake me up in the middle of the night and talk at me for hours. If we got an answer on Jeopardy wrong that we should have known, lecture. Such angry drunken lectures. He would throw things at us, hit us on the head to wake us up. I hated it so much. He died of liver failure when I was 17 and 22 years later I can say him dying was the best thing to happen to me. Nowhere near as traumatic, but my stepfather was heavily verbally and physically abused by all his family members save one, and never got counseling or therapy for any of it obviously. There were way too many times I, as a child under the age of 14, got into a screaming match with my stepfather that I didn't want to be in and had no idea why he was yelling and could only be heard by yelling as loud as he was while trying to ask what I had done wrong. It cooled off a little during my teens because I stuck up for myself a hell of a lot more and learned how not to engage or show emotion, so things couldn't escalate. Anyways, it wasn't until after he had to be put into a medically induced coma for at least 3 weeks and had to be resuscitated a couple times, coming out as a completely different person, that we could actually foster a relationship. Before that, I initiated zero contact a year before, until he went into rehab and got therapy. That hospitalization was the worst thing to ever happen to him, but the best thing to happen to us. In teens specifically, grow up and be more independent. Gets a job and saves to eventually move out one day. You need to come home sooner. I don't care if you have a job, I'm still your mother/father. This, my parents made it very clear from when I was young that if I wanted to go to college, I would need to pay my own way. I bought my first car and paid all my insurance on it. Got my first job at 16. And yeah, paid my way through college. Still got this kinda bullshit. When you're 8 they act like they can't wait for you to be 30, and when you're 16 they act like they want you to be 8 again. Adults not taking me seriously when I'd say I was full/needed a wee/didn't feel well. We don't tell adults they have to eat if they're full or to just hold it if they need the loo. Frickin' yes. Seriously, why force basic needs? Yes, I peed less than an hour ago, but I need to go again. Shit happens. I drank a full bottle of water. No, I can't finish my plate. I'm full. Well yeah, I'm going to sleep all afternoon and not sleep tonight. You overfed me. Your problem. Thanks for watching. Subscribe and hit the bell for more content.